Yes, because when we think about anxiety, a lot of times it's almost like a ratio of fears over our inner resources, right? So if we don't believe in our own inner resources, or we don't have that self-confidence and self-acceptance, moreover, self-acceptance and self-trust, what happens is those fears are so great in comparison. So that anxiety level raises. And sometimes what we do is we can't really necessarily, we don't have control over external forces. So we can name the fears, become aware of them. And through that process, we actually work on raising our inner resources, raising that self-trust. So essentially what we're doing in that equation is raising that denominator, so to speak, which inevitably brings down the anxiety. And the thing about anxiety is it doesn't go. Sometimes it's recognizing that we come to a place of being able to expand out to recognize that there are going to be these anxious moments. There's going to be some anxiety, but we ourselves can expand out, and we ourselves can start building those inner resources, building our resiliency factor, building that self-trust. So therefore, as we're expanding out, the anxiety can still be there, but we can then focus on those inner resources and continue to function and move through and work through the things towards the goals that we're setting for ourselves.
Well, it's just such a shame too that we don't have these conversations, more early on or think about this, because I think the way that anxiety presents itself for a lot of people in a lot of their lives is they feel it, an outburst of it, or they have a response to it, this intense feeling of fear or this unknowing of how to handle or fix a situation. And then when we don't have the tools to it, we explode in a way that is reactionary, and we have all of this fallout from it. And then we just say, well, I don't want to feel that again. Don't know how to not feel that again. I've never really talked about it or have the tools or really even know the questions to ask myself to avoid that, to really dive into that, to think about it in a way that I can heal it, And it's just a shame that we, again, don't have these conversations, because I think a lot of it is, a lot of response to anxiety is avoidance, and avoidance is what really shows up in destructive ways or outbursts of anger and these, again, reactionary methods. And, what are the questions that we can start asking ourselves to go deeper into that, and kind of heal the generational trauma that we may not even be aware of yet, or that's just this subconscious programming that just drives our reaction to these things.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And one of the things that I routinely will talk about with not just clients, but just in general when I'm talking to people out there in the world is how important our emotions are. I think so often we do not give ourselves permission to just pay attention to how we're feeling. It's almost like if we're feeling a feeling that's deemed a negative feeling, we are trying to get over it super quick or push it aside. And if we're feeling a quote unquote positive feeling, then that's okay. We can kind of sit in it. And really what I try to emphasize is feelings are just data packets. If we could get away from the idea that there's good ones and bad ones, but they're just there to give us information, and we give ourselves permission to pay attention to how we're feeling, and from not because we're sitting in our emotions, because the truth is an emotion has a 90-second lifespan. The only reason why emotions, or we feel like we're sitting in an emotion for longer, is because we have a thought about the emotion, and then we think about it again and we think about it again. And essentially what we're doing is we're creating our own little rip current in our own system, which makes us sit and swirl in whatever emotion we're having. But instead, if we name the emotion and we allow it to be there, and then we ask this very important question of, okay, so what is this telling me I need, or what value is not being met here? That gives us the in to try to figure out how that emotion is actually there to help us versus trying to shut us down. So anxiety is one emotion, right? Oh, I'm feeling very anxious. Okay, let's get curious with that. What is it that I'm needing right now? What value might not be met? Or a lot of people, when they feel sad, they're like, well, I don't want to sit in sadness. I don't want to sit in negativity. I don't want to be that. It have to be. It's just recognize and say, there's a part of me. It's not even I feel, because now we're taking on that role or that identity. And since there's a part of me that feels sad right now, what's that about? What is it that I need right now? Or what value is not being met? Those are ways that we can get that inside inside track, so to speak, of figuring out what we might need to, what action we might want to take or need to take in order to continue moving through the emotion rather than allowing the emotion to take over.